She's the one that's been watching online, and you got it, right? Did you get it? Okay. Well, actually, I sent it to you separately. Amy, when you come on, we're gonna get started in just a minute. Let me share my screen. Share my screen. See. She did. I mean, she's in 4th grade now, so she should have all this, but she doesn't. So, all right, Amy, if you're there, hi. I'm gonna go ahead and my screen is being shared. We're gonna get started. All right, and let me just make sure that my email is open so I can answer any questions. So, Amy, if you have any questions, I don't have the other window open this time, so if you have any questions, email. Oh, wait a minute, she just sent me an email. She is stuck in bad traffic. Okay, we will see you later then. So when you log in, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay. So last week, just to recap, I know you watched the video, and last week we just got into doing the installation, which we just did on that computer a few minutes ago. And we did just some very basic content. So we talked about posts. You guys remember posts? And then we also talked a little tiny bit about categories and a little bit about tags. So I do want to kind of restart, just refresh what we were talking a little bit about the categories and tags. And then we're going to get into more of the content types that we have in WordPress. I also want to touch a little bit on something called custom post types. We're not going to, well, we might do some custom post types if we have time at the end of next week. If we have the time, but if not, I do want to touch on them so you know what they are and how they're useful and how you might be able to make them in WordPress. The other thing that we're going to get into today, let me just check my, all right, and I did not have a chance to update the screenshots for this document, so I might just send it to you, and then as soon as I have time to update the screenshots in here, I know we had a version for like 4. This is for 3.6, so it's really out of date with the screenshots. But the processes are pretty much the same. They've slightly changed a little bit, but I think I have like a version that has 4.0. All right, so we're going to do the content with pages. We'll do media. We'll talk about importing content. Amy said she had a question about migrating from Blogger. I can touch on that a little tiny bit. We've done that for a few clients. It's a big pain, I'll warn you now. Huge pain. And then we'll talk about using themes and widgets. We might get to plugins by the end of the night to see how fast we go. I don't want to go too quickly. So we'll get started with just a little bit again about categories and tags. So one of the things that I mentioned last week is the difference between categories and tags. So all WordPress posts have categories and tags that can be associated with them automatically. By default, every post has to be in a category, And one of the things that we saw last week was how to change that default name of uncategorized to something else. So I usually set my default category to news instead of uncategorized. And then, because I don't like seeing uncategorized as a category, it's just something that, it's one of my pet peeves. So I usually just change that. If you think about the difference between a category and a tag, a category is kind of like a table of contents. It's like a heading in a table of contents. And then a tag is sort of like an entry in your index. So you can use both for posts, but you can have like a bunch of categories, and you could have a bunch of tags, and you could have a whole bunch of things that are in your news category. And you might have another category that's like, for example, on the Coder Kids Club site, I have categories, news, resources, tutorials, and stuff like that. And then I tag them. So like we have a lot of news about Minecraft, and I might also have tutorials that are related to Minecraft, and I might have resources related to Minecraft. So I can tag each of those with Minecraft, even though they're in different categories. So categories are, again, they're kind of like the main idea of the post. They're sort of the main topic of the post, or like how you are organizing them on your site. And then tags are going to be keywords that allow you to reference different posts. They're useful because so for example, if I click on view to see the the category, this is going to show me the category archive. It's going to show me, right now I just have one post. So it's going to show me all of the posts that are in that category. But that's really useful because you can have like your different categories, and it'll show you, and it's usually going to be just like it is on the main page. It's going to be in reverse chronological order. So the most recent post will be at the top, unless you have, if you remember the sticky post, you can make a post sticky. So if you have a sticky post, that'll flip to the top. And you can see tags. So if I click on one of these tags, it'll take me to the archive for that particular tag. And again, it'll show me all of the posts that have that tag. Now, when we talk about content, one of the other types of content that you're going to work a lot with is pages. So posts are, if you remember from last week, posts are going to be things that are like news and they're timely information. Pages are going to be things like your contact page, about, if you want to have some static content on your home page, you might make a homepage page. So those are going to be content that you can update from time to time if you want, but you can kind of think of them as static pages, and you're just updating them if they need to be updated. With posts, you're generally not updating posts. So posts, it's a one and done. You're going to post that information. It's sort of like a newspaper article where you're going to post that information. You might post an update to that, like you might, edit it to add or something like that, or like a retraction if you posted something and then, oh, wait a minute, that was wrong, or something like that. But posts are generally, you post it and then you're not going to touch it again. Unless, you might go there to comment on it, or you might go there to interact with people that are commenting on it. But generally, you're not going to be updating the post again. With your pages, you might be updating them. So like if you move from, like for example, we moved from College Park to Crofton. So I had to go in and I had to update our contact page with the new address and the new Google map and everything like that. If we change our phone number, we have to change that. We change our email addresses, we have to change all that. So pages will be updated every once in a while. So to add a page, if you go, if you're not in your dashboard, do you guys remember how to get into the dashboard in the browser? Oh no. Let's see if we can fix that. I can probably tell you what your username is. Do you know what yours? Remember the username? Okay. Let me tell you. I can tell you your username. Your password. Okay. Okay, I was saying that. No, that's the database using the password. So I'm going to see what your username is. And your username is Woody. Oh, okay. And then does that help out you know what your password is? So your username is Woody. Okay. And then to get to the dashboard, the URL is going to be localhost/WordPress/WP-admin. And I would suggest that you have two tabs open, one with the actual website in it, which would be localhost/WordPress, and then another one with the dashboard. Did that help with? You can, okay, let me reset your password then. No, I was So what I'm doing is I'm applying this function to that word. Okay. Hopefully it'll put it. And then it's okay. So now if you try password, is your password? Mm-hmm. There it goes. Okay, cool. So that's just, and Amy, I'm going to show this to everybody. This is a sneaky way if you ever forget your WordPress username and password, but you have access to the database, maybe through the dashboard or your control panel on hosting. If you ever need to reset your password, let me just make sure the audio is on. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to make sure the audio was on. So what you can do is actually go into your database, which I'll do. So I'm going to go into my WordPress database. And you go into your users table in WordPress and you find the user. So my user login is CodeMonkey. And you can edit it. I'm in PHPMyAdmin. So the user pass, what you would do is you would type in what you want for your new password, and then you would apply the MD5 function to it. So like if I wanted to change my password to password, I would use MD5 from that dropdown, and I would type in password, which is a really bad password, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then you'll update it. So if I was to log out of here, which I'll do, when I log back in, I'm just entering password as, let me make sure I typed it right. I just entered password as my password, and now that let me log in. So that's a really good way if you ever forget your password to reset it, so you are not completely locked out. With the installation that we have for WordPress right now, it won't send you an email. It's just set up not to send mail because it's on a Windows computer and we didn't want to set up all this other stuff. But generally, when you install WordPress on a web host, it will send emails. Sometimes it'll end up in your spam, but it will send you, it should send you an email. There's the password recovery feature. It'll send you the email to recover your password. All right, now as far as pages, so is everybody in the dashboard, in WordPress dashboard? Okay, so if you click on the pages menu over on the left side, that'll take you into your pages admin area. And pages, again, we've already said what they are. When you install WordPress, it automatically installs a page called sample page. So let's actually delete that. The deletion is very similar to how we deleted a post. You can move your mouse over the row that it's in and then click trash, and that'll remove it. And then if you really want to delete it forever, you can click on trash, and then you could click on empty trash. But if you're not sure you want to actually delete it, you might want it for later. Like if you ever create a page that you want to remove from the site and you don't want people to accidentally be able to get to it, you can put it in the trash, and then you can restore it. So I could click restore there if I wanted to. But you got to be careful. If you hit empty trash, it's gone forever. Right now, it's just sitting in here and it's flagged as deleted. But once you hit empty trash, it's actually deleting that record from the database. So it's going to be completely gone. It's not recoverable after that unless you have a copy of the database with that record in it. So you do have to be careful with that. So I'm not going to empty the trash completely because I actually want to show you a potential issue if you have stuff sitting in the trash and then you try to reuse the slug for what's in the trash. So just so you know that the slug on sample page is, excuse me, sample dash page. And I'll show you why, if I want to reuse that later and I have that page in the trash, why that could be a problem. Okay, so for right now, let's go ahead and add a new page. So you click on add new at the top. And this is similar setup to the posts where you can add a page from about 5 different places. So you could add it from that screen that we were just on. You can also go to new page up here. And you can also, under the pages menu, you can also click on add new to add new page. And again, one of the nice things is this admin bar, this WordPress admin bar. If you're logged in and you're viewing your site, so you can see I'm actually looking at my site here. And if I refresh this to show that it's logged in, it's available there. So I can actually be looking at my website and I can add a new page from there. If I'm in a post or in a page, I can edit the page or the post from in that page or post, which is really nice. What this does though is it doesn't have like a inline editor. It doesn't just like add like text fields to this or something like that. It'll actually take you back to the dashboard and it'll let you edit it in there. There are plugins that you can use that will do sort of the inline editing when you do that edit page and edit post, but they're not free, so we're not going to use them in this class. But they do exist if you ever need one. All right, so as far as adding our page, let's go ahead and we're going to call this contact. This page is going to be our contact page. And so if you type in contact us and press tab, what I want you to notice is when you press tab, it takes a second, but the permalink automatically appears, and it automatically, and this is what it did with the post that we did last week, it automatically sets the slug that you can edit to contact-us. So it's automatically going to, every time you add a post or page or custom content types, which we'll talk about later, it'll automatically take whatever title you put in, and then it'll remove any special characters, spaces, and it'll make it all lowercase. It'll replace spaces with a dash. You can edit that. I normally do, so like I like to have the title be contact us, but I would rather have the slug be just contact. So you can click on edit and then delete the us, the dash and the us. So the slug will just be contact. The reason I do that, it's easier to remember. It's easier for people to find. If they go to like coderkidsclub.com/contact, it's easier for them to do that than have to remember, oh, it's contact-us. So the shorter you make those slugs for your pages especially, the better it is. So if somebody's trying to remember, like for our events page, it's coderkidsclub.com/events. So it's easier to remember than coderkidsclub.com, sign up for events or something like that. It's just a little easier for people. Not that anybody does that. They just go to coderkidsclub.com and then find the events page. So yeah. Now the editor that we have here is very similar to the one that we had in the post. It is still a what you see is what you get editor, WYSIWYG editor. Again, it has that underline that I mentioned last week. Don't use that. And again, you can do bold, italic. So all the formatting that you had available to you in the post, you still have available in the page as well. By the way, there are there are plugins that you can use to add more features to this bar. This is a JavaScript library or JavaScript tool called TinyMCE. So it's actually very widely used in a lot of content management systems and web systems. And there are additional features that you can use in it. It's just these are the ones that are limited in WordPress. These are the ones that WordPress has out of the box. But there are plugins that you can install to extend it and make it so that it's a much more fully featured plugin editor, or sorry, text editor. So we're not going to get into what's in there, but for right now, what I'd like you to do is I want you to put in contact form will go here, because we will actually add a contact form. You guys are going to install a plugin either today or next week to make a contact form. A really easy contact form. Yes, yes. It's not a free plugin. It's one of my favorite premium plugins though. And it's one of the ones that has totally paid for itself. So if you do one WordPress site, the amount of time that it saves you, it's gonna pay for itself. If you buy like the single individual license, it'll pay for itself. It's really a lifesaver. All right, so a lot of the stuff under publish over on the right side is very similar to what we saw last week. So you can save a draft. You can preview it. We didn't really get too much into that last week, but you just be aware of that capability. Those also are in the post publishing. Excuse me. One thing I do want to mention about the status, if I click on edit for the status, so when you first create a new page or post, until you actually publish it, it's going to be saved as a draft. Notice that you can have it as a pending review. So you could, like, let's say that you have a page that you want to add, and maybe you're not allowed to actually publish it. And when we talk about users, we'll talk about there is a role in WordPress where you can create a page and then you can have it be pending review, but it won't actually be published until an editor or an administrator has published it. So you can do that. The other nice thing about this is after you've published a page, if you then want to remove it from the site, but you don't want to actually delete it, you can change it back to have a draft status. So the status after you've published it is going to be published, but you can, after it's been published, you can change it back to draft, and then you can basically unpublish it from the site. So that's, I think, a little bit more useful than deleting the page to get rid of it. Just make it a draft, and then it's basically hidden from the site. It's still in the database. It's still in the site and everything. You're still good. We also talked a little bit about last week the visibility. So with a page, you can make a page public. You can make it password protected, and again, the password is just going to be for that one particular page. And you can make it private, which is going to make it so that only people that are logged in can see it. We also have the ability to publish immediately. We talked a little bit about this last week as well. So the default would be to publish it immediately. So as soon as you click on publish, it will publish it. Or you can future date it. So I can publish it on April 4th. And when I publish it, it'll actually schedule it to be visible then. So this would be useful if like you have a contest or something on your site and you don't want it to be visible until that date, then you could do that. So you could make it so that the page doesn't exist until within your site until that scheduled date. But I do want to have it so that it's published now, so I'll make that today. Okay. Now another thing I want you to notice over here on the right side, in our post we had the ability to add categories and tags. Notice that you do not have that ability in a page. So out of the box, WordPress does not let you add categories or tags to pages. There are plugins that you can use to categorize and tag pages if you want. It might be useful if you wanted to have, like if you had categories and tags applied to pages and you wanted all of them to show up in one big list. That is something that I actually have done on some websites. So for example, on the WordPress Club site, I have custom post types that use the same tags as other content types. And you have to use a custom plugin to do that. It doesn't do that automatically. So you have to actually do a little bit of extra magic to make that happen. But one thing that it does have is this order attribute. So under page attributes, it does have order. We will see when we play around with the theme settings a little bit later on that you will have additional features underneath of the page attributes, like for example the template but that's dependent on the theme that you're using, on the appearance of the site. But the page order, it's going to be a number. It starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is kind of a pain to set up your page ordering using this, but this used to be how when you had a menu in WordPress, this is the order that it was, that your pages were in that menu. There is a newer menuing system in WordPress that makes that a lot easier, so you don't have to add that page order. And there are also plugins available to do sort of a drag and drop ordering. So if you have a lot of pages and you want them to be in a specific order on like in an output, there is a drag and drop plugin that you can install to drag and drop the order of the pages. It makes it a lot easier to do it that way than it does to have to go in and type 0 in the first one, and then go into the next one and type 1, and then 2, and then 3 to put them in whatever order you want. Now another thing that we have here is you can set the featured image. So if you click on set featured image, we don't have any images right now. We're going to download some in a little bit when we look at media, but you can specify a featured image for each page if the theme that you're using says that you can. So this is another theme-dependent feature. Most newer themes do have this as a feature, but what this does is it makes it so that when you add a picture here, that picture will show up usually at the top of the page or the post. And this is for this particular theme, the default theme for WordPress, which is 2016. It does let you add a featured image for posts and pages. And just to show you what this does on, for example, the Coder Kids site, the Coder Kids Club site is actually currently using 2016. We've been having some issues with the other theme that we were using. We were getting some JavaScript errors. So on this one, if I go to adding multiplayer servers in Minecraft, this is a post. I don't have a featured image on here. You can see it puts my name there. But if I go under resources, for example, and then I go under resource guides, these actually have a featured image. So this is the featured image for that particular post. So, and this is actually a custom post type called resource guide. So you can see in this case, the featured image shows up at the top of the page. And then I've got all my resources underneath of it. And for these, the featured image, again, shows up at the top of the page. And then it repeats down here. That's how I set the template up. So that's what it does for those. Okay, and we will add some images a little bit later on. All right, so let's go ahead and publish this. So if you click on publish, And then if I look at my page, if I look at my website, if I just refresh my website, it doesn't show up anywhere. And that's because I have to add it to the site via a menu. So I have to actually add a menu, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. But before we do that, I want you to add another page. So we're going to go ahead and click on Add New again. And if you remember that page that we deleted before, it should still be in your trash, was called Sample Page. So let's make another sample page. Sample page. And notice when you press Tab, it adds a slug, but notice it added a 2 to the end of the name. So it added Sample Page 2. And the reason that it's doing that is because you already have, slugs are unique. They have to be unique within their scope. So you already have a sample page. So it says, oh, well, that one's already taken, so we're going to call this one Sample Page 2. So if you want to actually use Sample Page for this one, and we're not actually going to, I just wanted to show this to you. So if you ever run into this issue, like if you created a new contact page and you wanted it to use the contact slug, you would actually have to go in and either delete the existing contact and completely remove it, which completely removes that slug and everything, or you'd have to change the slug on the other one. So if I wanted this one to be Sample Page and the other one to be Sample Page Old or something like that, I would have to go into the other one and I'd have to change the slug on that. So I'd have to restore it, change the slug, save it, and then I could use Sample Page because it's no longer being used. So it's just something to keep in mind. This is I would say it's a frequently asked question. Why does it add a 2? Because it has to be unique. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could change it to comment or Sample Page New or Sample Page 1, and those would work as long as it's different from the existing slug that's already a page. I don't want to save this, so if you ever make a page and then you're like, I don't need this, I don't need that page, you can move it to the trash. So I'm just going to click on Move to Trash. All right. Now, another thing I do want to show you, you guys don't need to do this, I'm going to just demonstrate it. So I'm going to just click on Add New again, and you will see when I add another page, because I have at least one page in my content, that I can also specify a parent. So this lets you have like a structure of your pages. It lets you have a hierarchy. You can have parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-great. You can have a very nested structure if you want for your pages. And again, what this does is if you have listing of your pages, like if you want to have it, make an automatic sitemap, then you might want to use this. So you might want to say what the parent page is, and there are functions you can use in WordPress to output sitemaps using this structure. But you don't need to. There's another way you can do it. So I moved out to the trash. All right, so now we have this contact page, and now we actually want it to show up in our site. Because if you look at the site, it's not there. I can go on the home page, it's not there. I want to find it. So I need to add it as a menu item. Okay. The way that we do that in WordPress is if you go to Appearance, and then you can click on Appearance, or you can go to Appearance and then choose Menus. But the menu is what we want to edit. So in order to show the menu on the screen, we have to create a new menu. So we're gonna, where it says menu name, let's call this main menu. Main menu. So we're creating a new menu. And you can put it in, again, this is a theme dependent thing. It's a theme dependent setting. Most themes have these things called theme locations where you can put menus. They're automatically set up and says, menu can go here. It's like hey, menu can go here. And if there are what are called widget areas in the theme as well, you can add a menu to any widget area as well. But you have to do that a little bit differently, and I'll show you how to do that when we talk about widgets, which should be tonight. But for right now, what we're going to do is we're just going to check where it says primary menu under theme locations. And then another thing you can do is you can automatically add new top level pages to this menu. I don't usually check that because it's dangerous, because you might add like a placeholder page, or you might add a page that you don't want automatically added. But as soon as you publish that page, if this is checked, it gets added to the menu. And then you have to go back and remove it. So I would rather manually go through and add the pages myself to the menu. You might have a site though where you do want to have it so that it automatically updates. So it's totally up to you which way you do that. I don't want to right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, over here on the pages area, I'm going to click on Contact Us and then click on Add to Menu. So by default, this pages section is it's going to show like the most the few most recent. You can search for a page. So if you don't see a page that you need listed in there, right now we only have one page, so it's only going to show us one page. You can search for it, or you can just choose View All, and it's going to give you a list of all your pages. Notice that Home, which if I look under Pages, Home doesn't exist, but Home is listed there. And if you wanted to add that, which I do suggest, so if you go under View All and then add your Home to your menu, and then if you take a look, you'll see that Home is listed as a custom link. And what it's going to do is it's going to automatically put the homepage URL for your site in there. And you can change that if you need to. And then Contact Us, if you expand that, is going to link to the Contact Us page. If you wanted to make it just be Contact for the label, you can just change it to Contact. You can change that. All right. Now, another thing that I want to point out is if you click up here on the very top of your screen, you'll see that it says Screen Options. I click on that. The Screen Options is context sensitive. So the options that you're going to get are going to depend on the page in the dashboard that you're in. So in this case, it's going to show me advanced menu properties. And if I wanted to, I can say, well, I want to have the title attribute be settable. And what that does is it adds the title attribute box to each of those menu items. I can also have it do a link target. So I might want to have it open up in a new tab. That's what that does. I might also want to add a CSS class. So you can check that. You can also add a link relationship, and you can add a description. So you can add all those if you want to. You don't have to. Usually for most people, most sites, you probably just want to have maybe those two, like the title attribute and the CSS classes, but you can add more if you want. Now, another neat thing that you can do here, notice over here on the left, it automatically shows you pages, posts, custom links, and categories. You can also add tags to that if you want to. So if you want to have a link to your tags in a menu, you can. You can have your categories. You can also remove things from here. So if you don't think you'll ever want to add categories or tags to your menu items, you can remove those from there as well. So it's really up to you. You can customize the way that you're working. All right. Now you can also, another nice feature is that these boxes are drag and drop. So you can actually move them up and down, and you can actually create some structure here. So I can nest Contact under Home. If I had another menu item, so like if I added Contact Us a couple times, which you can do. You can add the same page multiple times. It doesn't prevent you from doing that. So if I added Contact Us a few times, I could nest the heck out of it. So I can have Contact, Contact, Contact. You can also, if you want to, you can delete any menu items that you add there. So you just expand it, and you can click on Remove if you need to. The reason why you might want to have a page in there multiple times, you might have it under multiple menus. So you might put you might have like an About menu, and you might put Contact under that. And then you might also have like a Contact main menu item. All right. You can, if you want, you can also make it back to a main menu item instead of a sub item. So you can just kind of drag it to do that if you need to. But really important thing that you do have to do before you leave this page is click on Save Menu. After you've done the Save Menu, it's created this menu, it's saved it. If you go to Manage Locations, you can assign, if you have multiple theme locations for the menu, you can assign multiple. So you could, like the social links menu, I probably wouldn't put primary menu, my main menu under that, but you know, like I might make links to Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of stuff and put that under there. So I put that in a different menu, but you can change the menus in here. Okay, but if we go back to Edit Menus, now if I look at my site, if I refresh the home page, you'll see I now have Home and Contact are on my home page. This is the primary menu location in my theme. Now I do want to demonstrate if I added a subpage to this. So if I add a subpage, and then you always have to save the menu. This is another common, frequently asked question. I just added a page and it's not showing up in my menu. The first thing that I have to ask is, did you save it? Because sometimes people forget to save it. And the reason I say that is because there are some features in WordPress where you don't have to hit save. It automatically updates it for you, and this is not one of them. So you actually do have to save it. So I just added Contact Us under Contact, and now if I refresh this, you'll see it shows me that I've got a submenu there. Now the 2016 theme is responsive, which means if I make this smaller, where I don't have space for the menu, it puts it in a menu button, and then it's expandable. So it's a nice feature that they have here. Most of the default WordPress themes are responsive like that, which is a really nice feature. Generally speaking, you want your site, even if it's not a WordPress site, you want it to be responsive. A big part of why, besides the fact it makes it a lot easier for users on phones and tablets to view it, is because if you care anything about search engine optimization, if your site is not mobile friendly, Google will ding you, and Google is the big search engine. I know Microsoft, they want Bing to be the search engine, but Google is still the big search engine for a lot of people. So you do have to make sure it's search engine friendly and that Google will not ding you for not being search engine friendly. All right, so that is menus. Now another thing that we're going to talk about with our content is our media. So I want you to click on media. They're in the menu. And the media library is going to contain lots of content. It is a content type. Media is, and also just, this is weird, but menus are technically also considered a content type. It sounds a little weird, but as far as WordPress is concerned, your default content types are going to be your posts, your pages, your menus, and your media. Those are your content types. So it sounds a little weird, but that's what they are. So your media library is going to contain all of your non-post and page content. It's going to contain files that you've uploaded. So any pictures, any images, any PDFs, if you upload videos or anything like that, they're going to all be in your media library. You might be limited by what your server will allow. So in some cases, if you try to upload a media file, like an exe file, your server might say no, and that's a PHP setting usually. So like exe files they could contain viruses, they could be have malicious code. So a lot of times your server won't let you upload them. Same thing with like JS files, those are JavaScript files. So it really just depends on how your server's set up for that. Generally speaking, you're probably going to want to upload in your media library things like your images, GIFs, JPEGs, PNGs, GIF or GIF. Some people call it GIF, some people call it GIF. What do you guys like, GIF or GIF? GIF. GIFs, yeah. Although apparently when they first made them, they said it's supposed to be GIF like the peanut butter. It's weird. But JPEG or JPEG. If you're going to use the J versus the G, and then PNG is portable network graphics. So those are the 3 web images that you're typically going to use. You can also upload zip files. You can upload video files. Just remember, whatever you're uploading is going onto your server. And so people, when they look at your site and they are downloading it, it's going to be using your bandwidth on your server. So if you're on a server or a system that has limited bandwidth, make sure you're optimizing those files before you're uploading them, and make sure you're not exceeding your bandwidth. Like if you put a really big PDF file on there and everybody's downloading that PDF file and you have a little tiny bit of bandwidth on your hosting, you're going to go over your hosting allowance pretty quickly. Now, as far as adding the images, let's go ahead and we're going to go to Google Images. So just go to google.com for right now. There is actually, Amy, if you're doing this, if you're on there, there is actually a zip file that was sent out in the email that you didn't get. I'll forward it to you. I'll forward it to you. Yeah, it's okay. Okay. So there was a zip file linked to in the email that has some images that you can use, and it also is going to have the Gravity Forms plugin that we're going to use, so you can play around with it at home. Don't let Gravity Forms know I did that. This is not a public video, so they can't hear us. But the images you can download, there are a bunch of images of primates. It's just they were all from Wikimedia, and they were all the Wikimedia Commons, so they were all free. So I was like, hey, there you go. But for right now, what I'd like you to do is just do a Google image search for a picture that you'd like to add to your website. As I'm sure you're aware, this may not be the best thing to do, but we are in a class, so this fair use applies in this class. So we're using them for educational purposes right now, so you can use whatever image you want. But just because you can find it on the internet doesn't mean you should upload it. So you want to make sure that you have the rights to upload. I always have to, it's like a requirement, you have to say this. You always want to make sure that you have the legal right to use whatever images you put up on your website. And I will not tell you otherwise, but for right now you can use whatever image you want. So I'm going to just go to Google Image. I'm going to do a Google image search for orangutan, because I like orangutans. Orangutan. They're so cute. I like this one. So if you want to just download the image, so I'm going to just click on View Image, and then I'm going to right click and save the image. I'm just going to save it to the desktop so it's easier for me to find. So just download like 2 or 3 images so you have some. Oh, that's cute. Oh, I got to get the wheelbarrow full of monkeys. Sorry, they're not monkeys, they're orangutans. That's a good one. No. I'll show the page. Okay, so I've got 3, looks like JPEGs, JPGs. So after you've added an image, or after you've downloaded a few images, you can upload images directly to the library, so you don't have to actually attach them to anything. You can just upload them. So if you know you're going to use these images later on, you can just insert them into the media library and use them later on. Same thing with PDFs, video files, PowerPoint presentations, Word docs, or whatever you need to upload. You can put them up there if you want. But what we're going to do for right now, I'm actually going to show you a couple of ways to add the images. Like, so if you wanted to add it as the featured image to a post, I'll show you that. Same thing applies to a page. I'm also going to show you how you can add it as add images in a gallery on a poster page. And again, the same process for both. All right, so does everybody have at least a couple of images downloaded? Okay, so let's go to posts and let's add a new post. And you can give it whatever title you want. I'm just going to say post with a picture. And you can add whatever content you want. I'm just going to add a smiley face. But the big thing that I want to do is I want to set the featured image. So if you scroll down until you see on the right side, set featured image. And then you'll click on set featured image. Okay, then what you can do is if you can see the picture on your desktop, you could actually drag it in there if you want. It's a little tricky sometimes. What I like to do is click on select files. Bless you. And then just pick whichever image. You can, if you want to, you can actually select multiple images at once. You can control click or shift click to insert multiple images at one time, which is what I'm going to do. And click on open. Now you can only have one featured image per post. So if you have multiple images to upload at one time, even though when you're setting the featured image, it'll only select one of them. So if you're like I uploaded 3 pictures and then I have to decide which one of those 3 I want to actually be the featured image for this page. Now it will try to read the EXIF information from the image, EXIF image information for JPEGs. So you can see here for like this picture, for example, it automatically took some content from the image file itself and it put it in as the caption. And it'll also, if there is a title for it, it will try to set the title. Otherwise, it just uses the file name. So it just depends on how the image was created. So when you create images in like Photoshop, you can or photo editing software, you can add a bunch of information like the description, the title, and all this other stuff about it. So this particular image already had that, as you can see, but the other ones didn't. So pick any image you want, give it a title. You can use the default title if you want, but I'm going to call this orang tongue. It's a good idea to give it alt text for accessibility. Just a brief description. Same thing with the description if you wanted to. And then when you're done, you just click on Set Featured Image, and it will put a thumbnail of the featured image into the featured image area. If you need to change it, you can click on the featured image and choose a different one. If you decide that you do not want a featured image for this particular post or page, you could click on Remove Featured Image. I'm not going to do that because I do want to have a featured image for this particular post. So once you've set the featured image, scroll back up and click on Publish. And then to view the post, you can either, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either click on the URL here, or you can go back, because I still have it in a separate window because I want to have the dashboard in one window and the website in the other. If you go to the home page, it'll show you your new post. Because it's the newest post, it should float to the top. And then if you look at it, you'll see there's your featured image and your content. If you click on it, it'll show you again the featured image with your content underneath of it. The display of the featured image depends on the theme. So in some themes, the featured image will be displayed full size. So if I look at this original image, it was this one, I think. It's the original size. In some cases, it will scale it. So it'll give you, in some cases, it'll give you a thumbnail, which will be not just scaled, but it'll also be cropped. So it just depends on how your theme is set up. So some of them will only show, for the featured image, it'll show it like cropped. There was one WordPress theme that would show it cropped and it would only show it like a certain height, but you could like drag it around to specify what the thumbnail looked like. So yeah, and it depends on the theme. So in some cases, if you switch from theme to theme, your featured images will look different if you switch to a different theme. And we'll actually take a look at that when we switch themes. So they might appear different. All right, now the other thing that I'm going to do in this post, so I still have this post open. After you've added your content, I'm just going to put some words in here. This is a gallery. I'm actually going to add a gallery to this page or this post. So in addition to being able to add a featured image, you can add also individual images. So if I wanted to add just an individual picture here, I could click on Add Media, and I could just pick a picture, whichever picture I wanted. And I can say how I want it aligned, what I want to have it linked to, and also what size I want it to be. Again, the sizes are theme dependent. So it'll automatically give you certain sizes. Not all themes have all sizes, and some themes have additional sizes. You might discover, I've worked with some themes that have like 6 different thumbnail sizes. So in this particular theme, we've got thumbnail, which is 150 by 150, medium, which is 300 by 178 for this particular image, and then full size, which is 590 by 350 for this particular image. If I look at a different image, you'll see that the sizes are a little bit different. What should be the same though, the thumbnail should always be the same. And you can see in this case, it also has a large because the original image supports it. So the original image in this case is 3,228 pixels wide. So it does also support a large image, and it also supports a medium image. So usually the image sizes are, it's going to say what the max width or max height is. And I'll show you where you can change that if you want to. Okay. So pick whichever image you want, pick whichever size you want. We're actually not going to insert the image because I want to show you how to do a gallery first. But you can see that you've got your settings there. And then instead of inserting the image, we're going to click on Create Gallery. So what a gallery lets you do is it lets you insert multiple images at once. The way the gallery is displayed is, again, dependent on the theme. So some themes will have it so that when you have a gallery, it'll show it in, like, it'll show the thumbnail, and then you can click on the thumbnail and it'll bring up the original. Some of them have a light box included with them. Some of them don't. So it really just depends on the theme. We'll see what 2016 does, but you can actually just select. You can just click on each one to select it. If you want to remove it from your gallery, you can click on the checkbox to make it a minus to remove it from your gallery. But this is a really nice way to add multiple images at one time. You can change the order of them after you've created the gallery. So after we make the gallery, if you need to change the order of them, you can. All right. So we're going to just go ahead and select multiple images and then click Create a New Gallery. After you create the gallery, it'll take you to the Edit Gallery page, and this is where you can change the order of them. So I can reverse the order. You should also be able to drag and drop if you need to. I'm having trouble with drag and drop on my screen. I think it's because I have my Hangout open. You can also remove images from your gallery in this screen, and you can also set the caption for each one. It might be a Chrome issue. Are you in Chrome? Chrome might be. I've been having issues with Chrome lately with JavaScript. It should work, but I would say open this back up in IE later and see if it works. But it should work. But you should be able to drag and drop. And if not, we need to file the bug report because it normally does work. Okay. Are you in Chrome also? Yeah, might be Chrome. I've had all kinds of problems with Chrome lately. I used to love Chrome. I was telling a vendor today it's giving me heartburn. So he's going to send me a whole case of Tums because it's been a problem. So the other thing I want to point out here is for your gallery, not only can you change, you should, in theory, you should be able to change the position of them, the order of them. You can remove them. You can also change the captions of them. And the other thing that we have over here on the right side is you have gallery-wide settings. So if you remember for the individual image, you could say what it links to and then what size and everything. But here you can, it's going to be for all of the images in the gallery. So I'm going to have it so that mine link to the attachment page. You can say how many columns it is. You can have it so that it's in a random order every single time it loads. I have some clients, that's what they want. They want the images to show up randomly. And then you can also specify what size is going to be displayed. I'm going to do thumbnail. If you click on Insert Gallery, that'll put the pictures in. One thing to note is that the captions, the whole caption gets added. If you wish to edit the gallery, you can just click anywhere on it. And then notice there's a little pencil icon. You can click on that pencil, and that'll take you back into the Edit Gallery screen that we just saw. So again, in theory, you should be able to change the order. You can, like, let's say that I don't want to have captions. I can remove the caption. And then when I update the gallery, it's going to affect what's on the page. This is a really nice feature that has been vastly improved in versions of WordPress over previous versions. It used to be a huge pain, like the galleries were just, they weren't very good in WordPress, but they've really improved them over the last few versions. It used to be a major pain if you wanted to add or remove an image from a gallery. It was really hard to do, or change the order, but they've added features to it. So like, again, if I wanted to, I could add additional images to this gallery. In fact, if I really wanted to, excuse me, let me just select another file. Actually, that might not be an image. Oh, it is a picture. Okay, I'll insert another one. I've got a screenshot there. So I've just added another picture to it. And when I update the gallery, because I have my gallery set to be 3 columns, it's going to automatically wrap it to the 3rd column. I could, if I wanted to, make it so that it's 4 columns if I have space in my theme. So now if I update my gallery, now you can see it's 4 columns there. All right, so now I'd like you to update your page and then view it again. So view the whole page again. And there's my gallery. So when I click on a thumbnail, it's going to take me to the media attachment page. One thing you can do, this particular theme doesn't support it, but you could install a plugin that would support it. You could make it so that when you clicked on this image, it would open up a light box. You guys know what a light box is? It's like an overlay. It's like you click on it and it has like a little, sometimes an animation, and it grays out the stuff behind it, and then the picture shows up on top of it. So you could do that. You can have it do all kinds of cool stuff. You could have it so that the gallery does a slideshow automatically. There's all kinds of neat things you can do with it. But those are all going to be done with plugins. They're not, or it's something that's built into the theme. It's not something that's automatic in WordPress. So something that you would have to change. All right, any questions on the galleries, the images? Now you can, if you want to, you can edit the media, you can manage your media. If you go to the media library, you can edit it from there. This will allow you to edit the individual images. It does not let you manage the galleries. You can't manage your galleries from in there. So if you delete the image, it would remove it from the gallery. So like if I deleted that permanently and I go back into my posts, it's gone. It's semi-smart. Now, I'm showing you, I think I showed you guys the text view before, but I do want to show you in here. This is actually a short code. This is something called a short code. Short codes are used in WordPress to add special content that the front end, or sorry, the PHP will read, and then WordPress will process, and it'll put content in there. So in this case, I'm using the gallery short code. You could, if you wanted to, you could edit it from in here if you really wanted to. One thing I also want to point out is that it still has, so I had 4 images and I deleted one of them from my library. It still has that image in there. So if I went back and I added another one with the same ID, it would add it again. But if I added that same image and it doesn't have the same ID, it doesn't update the gallery to fix it. So if I accidentally delete an image, I've deleted the image. Unless I update something, upload something with the exact same ID, which you can't do easily. You have to use plugins and you have to kind of hack WordPress, which you don't want to do. That image is gone. So you do have to be a little bit careful with deleting images and media. All right, so if I update this and take a look, so it knows that that image is not there. It says, oh, there's a 25, I can't find it, so it's just going to leave it out there. Excuse me. Okay. All right, so we're at about our halfway point, so we're going to take a little break, take about 5 minutes, stretch your legs and everything. When we get back, we are going to do, let me double check. Oh, we're going to talk about importing our content. We'll talk about why getting things from Blogger is a huge pain. It's doable, but sorry, Amy, it's a huge pain. And then we're going to talk about themes and widgets. So take about 5 minutes. I'm going to pause the broadcast during that time. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna. Nope. I just need to stretch my legs a little bit. I'm gonna actually. Again. All right, we are back. I don't know if Amy's watching. Let me see if she can hear better. And I will try to, if you see me like turning like this a lot, it's because she couldn't hear me very well. So I'm going to try to talk a little bit louder and face this way a little bit so hopefully she can hear a little bit better. I'm just going to check the email and see if she has set an update, if she can hear better now. Let me just see, 1 second, sorry. We're broadcasting, okay. Okay, well, we will see if she's able to hear us now. So back into our dashboard. So back in here. All right, so importing content. So one of the nice things that you can do with WordPress is you can import content from other content management systems into it. Sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's not so nice. So there are some migrations that work really well. There are some that don't work so well. So migrating from one WordPress installation to another is reasonably easy to do. You can actually, it's under tools, you can actually export your content. So this will actually let you, and you can see it lets you export your posts and your pages and your media. It doesn't let you export your menus for some reason, but you can export everything else. And so you can export your files. So let's actually do that. We're just gonna export all of our content and let's download the export file. We're not gonna import it, but I just want to show you what that file looks like. So I'm gonna open this up. I'm using this tool called Brackets to view it. And it's an XML file. It tells you all the stuff that it has in there. And it also gives you instructions to import it, just so for future reference. So if we scroll down, so it basically takes all the content that, all the stuff that was in the database for each record, for each content record, and it creates an item for it. So it's going to have all your posts, all your pages. It does export your categories and your tags that are associated with each item. Excuse me. It will also export the URL of the image. It does not include the image in this file, but it will, when you import it, it will prompt you if you want to download and transfer the images basically. It doesn't move them from one to the other, but it'll open up the image and it'll make a copy of it on the new site. So going from WordPress to WordPress is really pretty easy. This is not, so this isn't really the best way to migrate a WordPress site from one WordPress site to another, because it doesn't include all of the theme, plugins, settings, and all stuff like that. So if you're trying to move from one WordPress installation to another WordPress installation, it's a lot more involved. We don't cover that in this class. It is actually it's a little bit hard to do. It's not super hard, but you need to copy all of the files. You need to do a database dump, and then on the new server, you would have to upload all the files and import the database, and then you have to tweak your settings a little bit to actually get everything to work. And sometimes you have to update the URLs in the database, so it can be a little bit more involved. So like whenever somebody says, I've got a WordPress site that I need migrated from one server to the other, it's not going to be like a little 30-minute job. It's going to take us several hours to do that and make sure that everything is working correctly and tested. But if you just need to get the content from one site to the other, then doing this export import is probably fine. It will do the content from one to the other. Now, if you need to get content from other sources, so if I go to import, you'll see that I have Blogger that's listed there, blog roll, categories and tag converter, live journal, movable type, RSS, Tumblr, and WordPress. One thing to note is that, excuse me, the WordPress importer is actually not installed by default. It used to be, but for some reason they decided not to have it installed by default anymore. It's actually a plugin, so you would actually have to install the WordPress importer plugin to import content from another WordPress site that you've exported. So just something to be aware of. When we get into doing our plugins, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Blogger, there is a Blogger importer, but when you do your Blogger importer, it doesn't get the images. So that's one thing that we've run into. It's a huge issue that we've run into when we've migrated sites from Blogger to WordPress. So one of the things that we've had to do is it'll import the content, and it usually does a pretty good job of getting the content and adding your, I think there's only one taxonomy in Blogger. I think it's called tags. I can't remember, it's been a little while. But it'll, you can convert your tags to categories and stuff like that. So there are some features that you have that you can use to get your content over, but it doesn't get your images over. So one of the reasons that it's been an issue, and it doesn't, it's the same thing with movable type and typepad. It doesn't copy the images over from the source site to this site, which is what it will do with WordPress, which is really a really nice feature. So what we've had to do is sort of a manual process where we've had to scrape the site to get all of the images from the site, and there are scraping tools that you can use to do that. But it is a pretty involved process. You have to use these scraping tools to get all of the images from the live site and then upload them all to the new server, to the new WordPress site, and then use a find and replace plugin to go through and do regular expressions to update all of the image URLs to the new image URLs. It is very involved. We did this for one of our clients years ago, and it took us a few days to get all of the content over from his old server. It was a typepad. It was a typepad, movable type or typepad. It was one of those. From that to WordPress. We've also done it for a lot of Blogger customers. So we've got one of our friends is Wardrobe Oxygen. Wardrobe Oxygen. She's a fashion blogger. And she used to be on Blogger, and she decided she really wanted to move to WordPress, and we had to move all of her content over from the one system to the other. And it did take several hours to get it all moved over, and to do the find and replace. So then we did the scrape and everything, and then we did the find and replace. So it was a little bit of a pain. We also have a lot of clients that did this. We set up these blogs for one of our clients, blogs.agu.org. And what this site is, it's actually several blogs that they moved into one blogosphere, what they call it, blogosphere. The site looks like it was designed in the 90s. That was not my idea. But so some of their bloggers were previously on WordPress.com. Those were super easy to move over. Those took, like, you just have to hit the button and it just does it all for you. It takes a little while, because some of them had like many years worth of content, but you just hit the button and it just migrated it all over for you. For the ones that were previously on Blogger, it took several days in some cases to move the content from one system to the other. Luckily, I think we only had like 4 of these people who were originally on Blogger. So again, with those, we had to do the scraping and moving all the content. Let me just make sure that's not Amy. Nope, we're good. Okay.
So we have to scrape the images from Blogger.
It automatically knew what the file name was. So because the content, the actual WordPress, the content, the text that got moved over had the image name in there. So it was like some really long funky URL, like blogspot.com/ some really long number, and then the actual image file name. So what we did was we downloaded all of the images, we put them all into one big directory, and then uploaded them all to WordPress. And then we had to use regular expressions with a find and replace tool in WordPress, a plugin that we installed. There are a bunch of plugins you can install where you can do search and replace with regular expressions, where we had to figure out what the pattern was for the Blogger images, because they were not all in the same directory originally, so that the actual content was like, it had a bunch of different folder names, and we had to replace that with the WordPress folder structure. So again, it is kind of a long and involved process. And Amy, since you asked specifically about that, I'll send you some links to some resources, and I'll send it to all of you guys. But just it is kind of a pain to go from the one system to the other. It is, and this is why we have clients that pay us to do it. So like we usually charge like a minimum of 8 hours. If you say all I need you to do is move me from Blogger to WordPress, that's going to be a full day of work. Unless it's a really big site, and then it could be a couple of days of work. So it really just depends on how many images. That's one of the things that we have to look at. How long is it going to take for us to scrape it? The scraping process is pretty automatic. So it's like you set up this, it's a application that you install on the computer, and it'll actually go manually through the website, and it'll actually download the whole website. It downloads basically a static version of the website to your computer. So it'll get all of, excuse me, all of the HTML pages, all of the images, all of the scripts, CSS, and everything. And you can actually, when you're doing the scraping, you can say what you want to download. So we would usually just say, we only want to download the images. So it'll just grab all of the image files. And you can also say how you want the resulting files to look. So like you can have it so that it maintains the original folder structure, or you can have it so that it'll put it into one folder or something like that. So that's, depending on what we're doing, that's what we usually do. One of the nice things about Blogger is that it uses unique file names for every single image when the images are downloaded. So you could, if you really wanted to, at least last time we did this, it uses a unique random file name. Not random, I'm sure there's some method to it, but it would you could put them all in one folder. So even though there might have been thousands of images, each image had a unique name. So when we were downloading them, we put them all into one folder. And then it takes a while to upload all those images to your server. You have to actually manually upload them. It's best to upload. You could FTP them. You could actually use FTP to upload them to the WordPress directory. But it's better to upload them through the media library, because that way they're in the WordPress database. And when you need to insert them like later, they're actually in the WordPress media library. So if you need to reuse them, they're in there. What we've done with some clients is they didn't want to have to pay for all that. They didn't want to go through that process. So what they did instead was they just had to keep their Blogger site up, because the images will still work. It's just that they're not going to actually be hosted on your WordPress site. They're going to be hosted on Blogger still. So that is one option if you don't want to have to go through all of that mess. Is you can just leave the images on Blogger, leave your original blog posts on Blogger, and then just have a post on there that says, if you're on this site, go here instead. And you can actually add that like to your Blogger template, where it says, if you're on this website, it's been moved, go here instead. And that is an option that you could use. Yeah, yeah. And one of the nice things with that is that you're not having to worry as much about, like, when you move from one system to another, you're potentially destroying all your search engine optimization. So if you've got a really good search engine ranking, sometimes you don't want to touch anything because you might accidentally mess it up. And also moving from WordPress to Blogger, you're doing a different file naming structure. So like if we look at that wardrobe oxygen again, look at her site. If I go to one of my posts, you can see that she has .html in her file name, which is not standard WordPress, but that is what Blogger had. So in order to keep it so that her file names or her search engine optimization wasn't completely destroyed, she uses references to .html. So that way she could keep those slugs that she had from Blogger as they were with that .html on them. So it just makes it a little bit easier for the search engine, the transfer from one to the other. So there's a lot to that. It's kind of a pain, but it is doable. Now, another question that we get from time to time is, can I move from another content management system like Drupal or Joomla or something else to WordPress? Absolutely, you can. How easy that is or how hard that is really just depends on the system. So like we did a big migration for one of our clients from Drupal to WordPress. And what they ended up having to do was because it was a really old site that hadn't really been managed very effectively. And there was a lot of junk content in there, a lot of stuff that they wanted to delete. So what they did was they went through and they did a dump of all of the content. And by dump, I don't mean they trashed it. I mean they did what's called a database dump, where they're actually extracting all the content from the database. And they put it all into these giant spreadsheets. And they actually went through line by line and decided what they were going to keep and what they were going to get rid of based on the title. And they had thousands of pieces of content that they had to go through. So it was a really big process. So they did all that, and then what they did was they sent us the resulting spreadsheets. And we actually created an importer where we could import the content from those spreadsheets. So notice there's not a CSV import here. But there are plugins that you can use for that, and we actually created custom importers for that. So it was easier for us to get the content in Plus they weren't using posts and pages. They were using them for some things, but they were actually using custom post types for a lot of their content. So we had to create these custom importers to import the custom content into their custom post types. So it was a little bit more involved, but it is doable. We also had one client who was using some proprietary Cold Fusion based content management system, and the proprietary, the people that had the content management system, they would not give her an export of her content. So she had thousands of pieces of content that were locked in her blog, her Cold Fusion based blog, and she had no way to get them out. Like there was no way, there was no way to export. Like we looked in the content management system, no way to export it. So basically what you had to do was you had to scrape the content from, and here's the funny thing, it was all password protected. So she had a password protected blog. People had to pay to get into the site. The problem is with a lot of scrapers, you can't have a password protected, like it won't let you log in through the scraper to get the content. So what we had to do instead was we had to use a scraper that let us, after we logged in to the dashboard, to the admin area, we then went to the post or the content page in the admin area, and we had to scrape from there instead. So it was a huge pain, but we got all the content, and it was I think it was like 3,000 posts that she had to move from one to the other. But again, we had the problem with the images, where the images had to be manually downloaded into the directory and then transferred over and done with the search and replace. So it was a big pain to do that. Yeah. So I mean, so you can migrate from different content management systems to WordPress. The easiest thing is WordPress to WordPress, but you can still do it with the other ones. It's just different levels of difficulty. So normally when somebody says, how long would it take to move from a Drupal site to a WordPress site? Just the migration of the content, it could take anywhere from a few days to like a couple of weeks. So usually we'll quote like for a relatively simple one, we'll say 40 hours. And then after we actually look at the content, it could take more or less depending on what their content is. So it can be pretty involved for some of these. So as far as importing and exporting, there are other importing and exporting tools that you can use. So there are actually tools out there. There are plugins out there that claim to be able to migrate from Drupal to WordPress. Some of them work, some of them don't. We tried them all. Some of them work, some of them don't. Another thing that we've done for one of our clients is we moved from, he was using Magento, which is a e-commerce system that has a content management system built into it, and he wanted to migrate to WordPress. And we actually did find a really good, it's a combination of a plugin and service that will migrate the content for you from the one system to the other, because he had hundreds of products and he didn't want to have to retype them all in WordPress. That's a big pain. But we were able to get the content, I think it was like 200 products, and we were able to get it moved over from one to the other. The other reason that we used this service was because he also had all his customers and orders, and he wanted to migrate those as well from Magento to WordPress using something called WooCommerce. And this system actually did that migration for us. So something like that, it was a pretty involved process because there was still some manual cleanup we had to do on the other end, but it moved most of the content over for us. And it still linked all the orders, all of the customers with their orders, and it listed all the products that they had ordered in the past, and still had all their wish lists and stuff like that, and their shipping information. The one thing that it didn't maintain was like their credit card information, because I guess that was previously stored in Magento, which is really not secure. And we were like, no, we're not going to do that, because that's a big security risk. So yeah, we didn't do that part of the migration. We refused to, and we said, if you really, really insist, you'll have to sign a waiver that releases us from any liability for that. And you're only going to be solely responsible if any of that content gets stolen. So he didn't want to, which is smart. So we updated, we just told everybody, because previously that information had been stored, and we said it's not going to be stored anymore. And we just sent an email out to his customers and said it's not going to be stored anymore because it's not secure. So yeah, because God forbid that somebody gets access to his database, and it would be encrypted, but still, if they get access to the database and then they're able to unencrypt all that stored financial information, look at what happened with Target and Home Depot and Staples. My credit card has had to be replaced like 4 times because I keep using it at stores that have then been hacked, and so I've gotten my Disney card updated like 4 or 5 times. So yeah. So, all right. So as far as importing and exporting, that's kind of what we've got. One other thing I do want to point out, it's not really content, but it's sort of content, is comments before we get into our theme stuff. So comments, are any of you going to use comments, you think, on your site? You might, some people might not. With comments, you do have some ability to moderate them in WordPress. But you're still no matter what, if you make comments available, you're going to get spam comments. Just be prepared for that. No matter what safeguards you put on there, you're going to get some spam comments. So just be aware. And it'll automatically. And we looked at this last week under discussion. You can tweak the settings a little bit here and there, but as far as the comments are concerned, there aren't any right now, and the reason there used to be there was a default comment, but I threw the post in the trash, so the comment's not there anymore, so you can't see it anymore. But comments are added by users. You can comment as well. There is a plugin that you can use to help limit your spam comments. It's called Akismet. It's actually installed with WordPress by default, and we're actually going to look at that probably next week. All right, now next thing we are going to talk about tonight is the appearance of your website. So this is handled, and we talked about this a little bit last week, this is handled with something called the themes of your website. So the content and everything is handled by WordPress. So your posts and your pages are handled by WordPress, but the way that they're displayed on the front end are handled by your themes. So each WordPress site has one theme. Unless you're doing using certain plugins, in which case you might have might have multiple themes. We actually use a plugin called App Presser to create app versions of WordPress sites, and that has an app theme and a WordPress theme. So like you have a regular front end theme that if somebody's just looking at the site, they see that theme, and then there's also an app theme that's used in the app. But we're not going to do that. So if you go to the appearance menu and just click on that, that'll take you to your themes, and you can see all of the themes. WordPress gets installed by default with the 2016 theme. When probably WordPress 5.0 comes out, it'll probably be the 2017 theme. They try to add a new theme each year, and they call it by the year that it's released. So you've got 2014, 2015, and 2016. There is a 2012 and a 2013 as well, and you can actually install them if you want to see what they look like. All of these are responsive. So that means when you scale your website, or you look at it on your phone, you look at it on your tablet, it's going to look decent for that device that you're looking at it on. So that's a really useful feature. You are not limited to those themes. So one thing you could do if you really wanted to, and we might teach a class on this down the road, you could create your own theme. That does require programming. So that actually does require you to write code that looks like potentially like this. So it is PHP code. It is actual programming. So if that makes your head explode, you might want to wait to take any classes on theme development. But you would actually create a whole bunch of these PHP pages, and the templates. It's a combination of HTML, so that's HTML right there, and then PHP code and these things that are called WordPress tags. So WordPress tags are basically just they're commands in WordPress that do special things for WordPress. So this would get the template part / content, and it's going to get the page part. This will get the sidebar, and that'll get the footer. So the footer looks like this. It's more HTML and PHP code. So that's what the themes actually look like in the file structure. You don't really need to worry about that unless you're actually building a theme or you need to edit your theme. And you would probably never make changes in here and click on that update file. In fact, that functionality is a lot of cases on a lot of servers it's disabled. You don't want to update your theme on the fly. That's a really dangerous thing to do. Go ahead. Because if you leave a semicolon out, you can actually take your entire site down. So if I do that, that would actually break my whole site. And I would have to edit the file via FTP and upload it again before my site will work again. So you got to be careful editing your theme. But there are things that you can do. So in a lot of themes, you'll see that there is a customize menu item. So if we click on that, click on customize, you'll see that you have the ability to make some changes to your theme without having to touch the code. So this is a feature in a lot of more recent themes. So I can, if I'm in the customizer, I can go to my site identity, and these are things that we saw before in our settings. So our site title and our tagline are in there. You can change those if you wanted to. I'm not going to right now, but I could. Notice I also have the ability to change my colors. So I could change this black background. I could change it to a different color if I wanted to. I could make it red. And the nice thing here is that it shows me a preview of this. This is actually a preview until I press save and publish. So if I look at the site, if I refresh my site, that red that I set in the background is not showing up. It's only going to show up in this preview here until I click on save and publish. So if I wanted to make that orange, I could. Or if I wanted to switch it back to the default, I could. And you can change your background colors. You can make it really hard to read. Don't do that. You can change your link colors if you wanted to. And again, it's going to give you a preview of what all these look like. Okay, and then you can just go back. I can change my header image. Right now, there is not a header image. I could add one. So if I wanted that to be my header image, it's a cute image. You see what that does? So it's going to be the header that's going to be at the top of every page in my site. I can make a background image if I wanted to. I just want to use the orangutans everywhere. And now instead of that color, it's going to have the image in the background. It's going to be hard to see because there's stuff over it, but it's back there. I can also adjust my menus from here. So that we looked at this before under appearance, there was menus. You can actually update your menu from within this customizer. And again, the nice thing with that is that it's not going to save it until you actually click on save and publish. All right. Now, another thing that we have in here is widgets. So widgets, there are two places that you can tweak your widgets. This is one of them. This is an easy way to do it. So if we click on widgets, you'll see that there is a widget area called sidebar for this particular theme. The areas that you have here are going to depend on the theme. So you might have widgets. You could have widgets for the sidebar. You could have 2 sidebars. You could have widgets in the footer. You could have widgets in the header. You could have like 20 different widget areas. The widget areas that you have available to you are going to depend on the theme. And you'll see right now in this particular theme, all I have is sidebar, which is going to be this right bar over here. And right now it has search, recent posts, recent comments, archives, categories, and meta. If I want to change that, I can. So if I wanted to change the order, so like if I wanted my meta to be up higher, I can just move it, and you can see now meta is up higher. If I wanted to, I could remove meta. So I can expand that, and I can click on remove, and that will remove meta. I usually remove the meta, which it's basically like the login and some other stuff that you probably don't need, but I usually remove it. If I wanted to, I could remove my comments or my archives. I can remove all kinds of stuff. The other thing that you can do is you can add widgets. So if you've removed some widgets and then you want to add another one, you can. So you can click on add widget. And these are all of the widgets that come with WordPress. And any widgets that are installed with any plugins, and in some cases that are installed with my theme, are also going to appear here. So I could add my calendar if I wanted to. And you can see the calendar is actually going to show me a calendar that has links on the days that I have posts. So you can see it's linked on. I have one from last week and one from this week. The other thing I want to point out is, remember we talked about this a little bit last week. The start date here is going to reflect the start date that you set in your settings, in your WordPress settings. So my week starts on Sunday. If you hadn't changed your start day of the week in the settings, this would be Monday. It would say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, instead of Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So some other widgets that we've got, one of them that's in here is your custom menu. I mentioned this before, that you could add a menu wherever you want it to have, and you have to select which menu it is. So you could add a menu wherever you have a widget area. So now I can see there's my main menu. Is in my widget menu sidebar. So if you wanted to add one of the widgets that you removed, you could add that if you wanted to. You could add a tag cloud. Tag clouds used to be all the rage. I don't know. I don't know about the word cloud. Yeah. And those are the most common. Yeah, it makes them bigger. Yeah. So all mine are the same size right now. But yeah, you could add a tag cloud, or you could add a category cloud. Or your link categories. Yeah, tag clouds were a big thing. I don't think they're as widely used. Some people do still use them. And actually, that blogosphere that I showed you before, they really wanted their tag clouds. I don't know why, but they really wanted them. See, so they've got tag clouds. That's what a tag cloud looks like. So you can see the word featured is really big because it's the most commonly used tag of all the tags. So once you have saved once you've gotten all your settings, all your widgets the way that you want them to, then you can click on Save and Publish. And it's saved now. When I want to get out of this customizer, I need to click on that little X right there. And that'll take me out of my customizer. Excuse me. So now when I look at my site, it's now been customized. It's got my background, my background color changes, my image background, my header image. It's got my tag cloud. It's got all the changes that I made. And I did not have to do any programming for that. Somebody else did all the programming that supported that. So I didn't have to do any programming, which is really nice. Less programming. I like to program. I like to code. But in some cases, the less programming that people have to do, the better. Now, you can also, if you don't want to use, like if the theme that you have, it does kind of what you want, but it doesn't do exactly what you want. Again, you can create a custom theme to do exactly what you want, or you can search for a theme that's a little bit closer to what you want. So if we go back to Appearance and then Themes, if you click on Add New at the top, this is one of the cases where the Add New is not everywhere, like it was with Posts and Pages. You have to actually click on this Add New button on the theme screen. And you can install additional themes. So what this takes you to automatically is the free WordPress theme repository. These are all the community contributed themes. They are free. In some cases, they are free, and some of the themes actually have a premium version. So they give you the free version here, and then they recommend that you get the paid version because it's got more features, it has better support. So in a lot of cases with these free themes, you're getting limited features. You're not really getting any support. So if you have a problem with it, you either have to figure it out, or you have to pay somebody to figure it out, or you have to pay the theme author to help you figure it out. So it can be a little bit of a pain. But if you search for it, you can search for themes. You can search by feature. So like you can say, I want it to be accessibility ready, and I want it to work. I want it to be, let's see. I want a featured image header. And that's going to, if I apply those filters, that's going to search for themes that meet those criteria. It's going to filter it by that. Another thing you can do is you can search for the most popular. You can see what are the most popular. 2016 is the most popular, probably because it is the one that is installed by default. And a lot of people never change it. Like a lot of people just use the default theme. And they just, it actually, it's not a bad theme. I mean, that's what I've got on Coder Kids Club right now. And whenever I have issues with the other theme that we keep using, then I just switch to the default theme and it works just fine. I mean, people can find their way around it. It's not the most beautiful theme, but it works. And it's easy to find the content in it. But you can also see there's 2012, 2013, and 2011. And you've got a bunch of other themes here. So what I'd like you to do is just find a theme that you like. Find one where the thumbnail looks nice. So I'm going to go to this Athena theme. Don't click on Install just yet. Click on Details and Preview. So if you move your mouse over, you'll see that there is a Details and Preview. And what this will do is it will show you a preview of what the theme looks like. It shows you with the default content. It's not your content, it's going to actually just be the default content. You can see this one actually requires a lot of customization. But it's a nice theme. It's not bad. It's responsive. It's got some animation. It's got like a header, slider. It's a pretty nice theme. If you decide that you want to install it, you can. You can just click on install. And that will install the theme for you. It's automatic. You might be prompted for your FTP information in here. You might not. It just depends on how your server is set up. But basically what happens is WordPress is grabbing a zip file from that WordPress theme repository from their directory, and it's copying it over to your site. It's unzipping it, and it's putting it in a folder. Let me show you the folder real quick. Go to my www directory, go to WordPress. It's under WE Content Themes. So it just created this folder called Athena, and it's got all of the files for that theme are in that folder. It just copied it over for me. Now, just installing it doesn't actually, it's installed, but it's not your live theme. So what you could do after you install it is click on Live Preview, so you can see what your site might look like with it. This doesn't work with all themes, I'll warn you now. It doesn't work with all of them. And you can see there's all that default content up there, and there's my orangutan post and other stuff. Absolutely, yes. Yes. Yep. Yeah, and you can see that, so this is similar to that customizer that we saw earlier, and you can actually see, oh look, there's an upgrade to Athena Pro. Like I said, a lot of these, they're freemium, it's a freemium version, it's a free version where they keep prompting you to upgrade to the pro version or the paid version. But notice here that we've got, you can change the slider. So slide one, and they give you a picture. I can change the image to one of my images if I want to, and there's my orangutans. And I can change slide two if I want to one of the other pictures. So now my homepage has my images. And this one's relatively easy to change. Some of them are not quite so easy. I also have the ability to change, in this particular theme, I can go to appearance and then I can go to skin color. And they've got me in the green skin color, but I can change that to red. And you see that changes, or yellow, and that changes all my buttons and my dark blue. Green doesn't really go with the orangutans. I think red goes with them. Nah, yellow, maybe yellow. Yellow looks good. So you can see how that totally changes the look of the site by changing, and it just updates everything for me automatically. Oh, pink actually looks pretty good. Not bad. I think I like red the best. There we go. All right, you can also, in this particular theme, you can change the font if you want. So it's going to change that header font. Kind of like the default, the real way. So you've got a lot of options in this case. So again, all I'm doing right now is I'm doing what's called a live preview. So if I was to refresh my homepage on my site, it still looks like it did before. This would not actually, so this is a live preview. This would not actually go live until I click on save and activate. So if you've tweaked this and you like the way that it looks. Oh, and one other thing is if I go to widgets, you see that this one has a whole bunch of widgets. It's got right sidebar, which is over here. It's got left sidebar, which probably only shows up on certain pages. It's got footer, which I'm guessing goes down there. It's got slider overlay and homepage. So it's got a bunch of different widgets. And you can change your footer background. Right now it's got a picture, so I can make that my cute little orangutans. Can't really see it. So lots of settings that we can do here. Oh, and then I got to change the menu because the menu is has a different name. So I'd have to go to menu locations and set the primary menu to main menu. So that now my menu shows up there. This is not a bad theme for a free theme, honestly. It's pretty good theme for that. Oh, and I got to change the logo. Let me hide the logo. There we go. That's better. So I don't have that Athena logo there. Go to logo title and favicon. Go to logo, and then you can hide the logo. And it'll show your page, your site title instead. All right. So I think this looks pretty good. So I'm going to click on Save and Activate. And now when I look at my site, it looks like what I had done there. I see an issue. They have it so that your title gets hidden by the admin bar. Potential issue. If you're looking at the actual site and you're not logged in, it won't show up. But they're supposed to account for that on themes. When they make themes, they're supposed to account for that. You get what you paid for. It's free theme. So if you like it, it's good. If it's not, yeah. So now you could, if you wanted to, I could add additional themes. So again, you go to themes, add new. Once you've activated the theme, if you want, you can switch back to another theme. So this is how, like, if you look at the Coder Kids Club site, 1 second it might look like that blue theme that's like all fancy. It's got all kinds of animations and stuff in it. But the JavaScript on it breaks all the time. I didn't write it. It was written by and I actually paid for it. But it breaks every once in a while. So I switched from theme to theme to get things to work. Like for a while, we were having trouble with people paying for their events that they were registering for. And it was because there was a JavaScript conflict. So in order to get that JavaScript conflict out of there, I had to switch back to the 2016 theme. So let me show you how easy that is. If you're on the themes page, all you have to do is pick the theme you want to activate, click on activate, and you're done. So I just switched from the Athena theme, which looks like that, to my 2016 theme with just the click of a button. It was super easy. Now, one thing to also notice is if you had already set up the configuration for that theme, it has saved all of the configuration that you previously did for that theme. So it still remembers how you configured that particular theme, and it's going to use all of your settings that you had before in there. So that's a really nice feature. Usually, yes. Yeah, it'll save it. It should. The only thing that does a little bit weird is if you are using widgets and the names are the same, it'll keep the widgets in that new name. So like if you move things around and the names are the same, it'll keep those widgets that you've moved around. But in some cases, the widget names are different. The widget area names are different, or the menu names are different. So if you've updated your widgets in one spot and the name is different in the other theme, then it doesn't update automatically. So you have to actually make your updates. Now another thing, you can delete themes if you want. It's a little bit more of a pain. You also have you don't have your screen options, but you do have help. So it does give you some information about using help. Now another thing that you can do, if you go to add new, and we don't have a theme to upload right here, but if you go to like Woo Themes, which is where the theme for the Coder Kids Club site is from. Woo Themes, there's a bunch of, they call them premium theme providers like Woo Themes. They've got a ton of themes. So we're using, which theme is it? I can't remember. I think it's called Superstore or something like that. don't remember which theme we're using. Oh, maybe it's not one of those. WooCommerce. Superstore. This is the theme that we're using on the Coder Kids Club site. So what I had to do is I have a membership with WooThemes, and I can download. I have like a all themes membership, so I can download any theme that I want for one subscription price that I pay every year. The reason that we do that is because we let our clients use these themes, and we have a developer. It's called a developer license. So, and we have that with a lot of the premium theme repositories. So we can say, okay, go to this website, go to this website, and go to this website. Find a theme that you like. Let us know which one it is, and then we can download the zip for it, and we can upload it to your site, and they can use that theme, and then we can customize that theme. So there are repositories like WooThemes. There's another one called StudioPress that we use. StudioPress, another popular one. They've got some nice themes.
So I use these guys.
Mm-hmm.
They create something called a framework,
Mm-hmm.
and that controls everything. And
Right.
that was great when I was first learning how to use this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's extremely well done, but they don't always, it's not always intuitive to understand why you should do things a certain way.
Right, right. So there are several frameworks that are used for themes. We use something called Sage. It's a theme framework. It's actually not even really a theme framework. It's a starter theme that uses Bootstrap, which is a responsive framework. It's a JavaScript and CSS framework from Twitter. That it's really easy to use. It's really flexible. They use, I don't know what they use for the responsive stuff, but they have this thing called Genesis. And really what it does is it gives you a lot of functions and stuff that you have built in to make it easier to add stuff when you're developing the theme. So it's more, the framework stuff is more important for the theme developers than it is for you as a user. So unless you're actually going to be programming the theme, you don't really have to worry as much about what framework is being used. In some cases. So in some cases you do, because some of the frameworks have like stuff built into them that make your theme a little bit easier to use on the back end, like on the dashboard. We have a lot of clients. The StudioPress themes are really nice. They're very pretty. We have a lot of clients. We've got a few clients that are using some of these themes. Honestly, when you look at this particular page, they all look the same. So I mean, there's not a huge difference between some of these themes. So you do have to look a little bit more in depth and really take a look at the theme. So like actually go in and look at the live preview and stuff. So they've got like a live demo so you can see what it looks like. So this is something called, it's got something called parallax, where you see these images don't look like they're not moving, they're static. The images are staying still while the site is moving. That's just and then you've also got some parallax where the images move at a different rate than the background. So there's a whole bunch of different features that you can get with that. It is really, yeah. Yeah. I didn't put that on our site. So there's StudioPress, WooThemes. Another one that we use is Elegant Themes. There's another one. We've got some nice Elegant Themes. They've got a bunch of themes that they're decent. We've got one called Divi that a lot of people use. Another one that some people use is Graph Paper Press. One of my developers actually used to work for these guys, Graph Paper Press. I sold them. So they've got some nice, a lot of really photography specific themes. So if you're a photographer or something, have a lot of pictures that you want to put up there, they've got some nice themes. So the big thing with these is if you're using one of these themes, when you purchase it, they're going to give you a zip file. And just like when you installed the one from the repository, it copied the zip file over to your server, it unzipped it, and it just made that directory. That's what's going to happen if you add a theme by clicking on Upload Theme. So what you would do is you would actually take that zip file that they give you, the theme provider gives you, click on Choose File, upload it, and it's going to install the theme for you. And again, it's going to put it in that same directory. So it's going to be in the WP Content Themes directory. It'll just make another folder in there with all of your theme files in it. So another thing that you could do is there are these things called child themes. And the child theme is basically, that's basically what you're doing with frameworks, is you're installing what's called the parent theme. And the parent theme is sort of like it's got like a lot of the framework. The framework is actually part of the parent theme. And then you install child themes that just add custom styles for that parent theme. That just tweak it. So there's that. And then you can also create your own themes, which again, that's a whole other, that's a 12-hour class that we do, and that requires you to know PHP and HTML and CSS and JavaScript. So it's a little bit harder. Those are all classes that we will eventually teach. Or you can go to like lynda.com or something like that to learn that. So that's pretty much it as far as themes. I do want to point out widgets. I did say that there was another place that you can customize your widgets. So instead of doing it from the customize screen, which you can do, you can also go straight under appearance. You can go to widgets, and it's a slightly different UI for it. I am in the 2016 one, and you can see that I've got three widget areas that I can use here. And you can actually drag widgets to the areas. If you want to maybe use a widget later, but you don't want to delete it, you might want to use it again later, you can drag it from one of those widget areas over to inactive widgets. So that way, what that does is it keeps all of the settings that you might have done. Because some of the widgets that you'll install, and you'll see this when we do plugins, they have a lot of settings, and you don't want to have to redo all those settings necessarily. So it's easier to just drag them over to the inactive widgets. Another feature that you've got here is when you add one of these widgets, you can just drag it over there. But if you wanted to, like, let's say you're scrolling all the way down here, and you can't easily drag it from down here all the way up here, you can click on it, and that'll let you select which widget area you want it to go into. And then when you click on Add Widget, it just puts it in that widget area. You can delete widgets. We saw this before. It was called Remove in the customizer instead of delete. Under your screen options, you can enable accessibility mode. That just makes it a little bit easier to click on things, because the Ajax-based widget editing it's not very accessible. So that's why it was doing all that stuff automatically. Let's disable that. So you can see when I move things around like this, that's all done with Ajax. It's all updating with Ajax, which is a JavaScript. It's a way for JavaScript to communicate with the server and make updates on the fly. So it's nicer for most people, but if you are not able to see, it's really hard to do. So something to think about. All right, any questions about the appearance, themes, widgets, menus, customizer, any of that? If you think of anything between now and next week, let me know. Email me. So next week we are going to talk about plugins and users, and I think we'll have a little bit of time to, if you guys thought of any topics that you wanted on the add-on, let me know. Email me or call me or something. Let me know if there are any additional topics. You too, Amy. If there are any other topics that you want to add, I think we'll have some time. But other than that, I think we're done for tonight. No questions? Any questions? Okay. All right. Let me just check and see if Amy has any questions. Sorry, give me 1 second. I do not see any emails from her. Let me see in the. I do not see any messages in there. All right. All right. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I will be teaching tomorrow afternoon, Friday night, Saturday. So I will try to answer them before Wednesday. But at least I can prep. If I don't get a chance to actually answer you by email or anything between now and then, I might be able to prep to show it to you in our class next week. So, all right. Thank you very much. And this is recorded, so if you want to watch it, you can. And hopefully the audio is better in the second half. So let me stop this. All right. Bye, Amy.